Hey everyone, my name is Daniel, and today I'll show you how to build an autonomous agent using Copilot Studio. We'll build a fully finished agent which has knowledge, actions, and triggers. Then we will test the agent as a conversation to make sure that it references all the knowledge sources, grabs the information that we need, and provides it. Then we will do the autonomous piece where we go ahead and fill in a Microsoft form. The form will go ahead and trigger all the knowledge that we have autonomously. Go ahead and send that back as an email. We will also confirm if the email actually has the information we asked. So stick around because I'll show you how you can take your agent building skills to the next level using generative AI, which is so much more easier. But first, here's my intro video. So before we go and leverage the autonomous feature, we'll go ahead and build a brand new agent from scratch. We'll go and add the knowledge, we'll add actions, then we will add the triggers for the autonomous effect so that you will get the overall experience. Make sense? Good. Now let's get started. In Copilot Studio, I go to the environment of my choice, I select agents, and now I click on New Agent. For this one, I'll go and click on Skip to Configure. And for the agent name, I'm going to give it a very specific one, which is Coffee Machine Agent. I'll change the icon, and over here, I'll click on the change icon. This icon over here, my coffee machine PNG. I'll go and click on it. Just make sure that whatever is this icon file that you have has to be less than 30 kilobytes. I know it's a little small, but this is what we have to work with, so it is what it is. I'll go and click on Save right now, and at least we've got that piece done. Now, the first thing I want to add is description. And here's what I'm putting in. It says, this agent is used by end users to inquire about the different types of coffee devices available, because that's all we're going to do. Users can come in and ask information about the coffee machines that we as a company sell and have available in our inventory. And that information will come from knowledge, which you will see in a minute. But now that I added the description over here, you see on the right side, it is also keeping track of everything that we are doing, which is great. All right, so now the next is a very important thing, is providing our agents instructions, basically the behavior of how this agent should perform. Now, if you haven't watched the video that I released last week, I humbly go ahead and ask you to go watch that, because over there, the out-of-the-box agents has some great examples of the type of instructions you should add. And everything that I'm going to show over here is what I myself learned from the examples that I picked up. So again, I urge you to go watch that video first. All right, so in my instructions, the first thing I'm going to do is just a description, just giving an overview of what this agent is about. And here it is. It says, you are a coffee machine agent who receives questions about the type of coffee machines available they can choose from. Users can ask about the coffee machine names, average cups per week, average espressos per week, color of the machine, and the price. Now keep the last two in mind because we'll be using that information for our demos. All right, so this is just the overall description piece. All right, next I'm going to hit my shift button and go and click on enter because we can start on a new line. And here is the next thing. I'm going to put in this hashtag and say receive the coffee machine inquiry form information. Now what that means is that we are telling this agent that, hey, somebody is going to fill out a Microsoft form, and that form name is called as coffee machine inquiry form. When that is done, receive that information. And when that receive that information basically means users will fill the coffee machine inquiry form with fields such as your name, your email, and your question. That is what we want to tell it right now. All right, so receive this information. Next is go ahead and search your knowledge. What that means is search for answers, review the question, and this question is actually the name of the question in the Microsoft form, which you'll see in a minute. It says review the question and search for the answer through the files in your knowledge. This is something that we're going to add right now in our knowledge. When I say knowledge over here, I'm actually referencing this knowledge. Is this starting to make sense now? Good, because we have one more instruction to give. And that is this section over here. I'm going to scroll up a little bit so you actually see what's going on. It is the respond with email, because we do want to respond back using the autonomous feature, and that is using the email. So the first item over there is send an email. Send an email using the Office 365 Outlook, send an email V2 action with a polite tone. Now you might already be familiar with this one, that send an email V2 action. That is part of the Office 365 Outlook connection. So I'm actually stating it as descriptively as possible that, hey, go ahead and do the send email, but make sure that you're using the Office 365 Outlook function over there. All right, just making sure you know that. And just to be nice, let's use a polite tone. Also, item number 2 is provide detailed information. Now, do you see this format that I'm following over here? I have asterisk, provide detailed information, asterisk, and then the colon. Again, I got this idea from that template. So I'm actually just following, doing some reverse engineering and applying it over here. And it seems to work, so that's what I'm going to stick with. So for this one, it is send a detailed email providing detailed information about the coffee machine. Provide information such as price range, machine names, average espressos per week, and the color of the machine. And then finally, the third item is provide response to no information, because if there is no information, we need to provide that as well. And for that, the instruction is if no information is available, then send an email using the Office 365 Outlook dash send an email V2 action stating no device can be found that matches their requirement. However, they can contact us again for additional information. So this is the overall instructions I'm going to provide to the agent. All right, so the next thing I want to do is actually give it some knowledge, but I'm going to skip this one. Why? Because I'm actually going to go and upload now an Excel spreadsheet. I want to keep that process a little bit simpler for this demo, is let the knowledge be provided to it as files, and in my case, the Excel spreadsheet. And right now, since we haven't actually gone and saved this agent yet, this part is grayed out. So what I'll do is I'll hit cancel for now. I'm going to go and click on create. Let the creation get completed. It's going and setting up the agent. Once it is done, we'll go back over there and we'll add our knowledge. And while this is being done, that knowledge is actually an Excel spreadsheet, and it has all this information about all the different coffee machines that I have available. So we are in. Now you can actually see the entire instructions and the way it looks over here. The orchestration piece, for this example, we need to turn that on. So by default, it is disabled, but we are going to use the generative AI. So we actually have to go and click it enable. Once you do that, it will take a minute to save it. The saving is complete, and so the changes are saved. All right, so in the knowledge piece, I'm going to go ahead and now add knowledge. And before I do that, let me show you what that knowledge is. It is this Excel spreadsheet. This Excel spreadsheet basically has all this information about all the assets that I go ahead and sell in my company. And that's what the user is inquiring against. Makes sense? It's got machine name, it's got all of these different categories, the color, description, so on and so forth. So I'm going to X out of this one because that's what we're adding in as our knowledge. So now I'll click on this add knowledge. Now you see this option is not grayed out. So I'll go and click on quick browse, get my coffee machine spreadsheet, click on open. Here we got to make sure we update these fields. So the name one, I'm going to go and change that to coffee machines for sale. And for the description, I'm going to tweak that just a little bit. I'm actually going to go and say something like this. This knowledge source provides a list of all the coffee machines that are available for sale. All right, keeping it very simple, but at the same time providing some valuable information. So I've got the file uploaded and I've gone ahead and updated the name and the description. So now I'll go and click on add. Now what it is saying is upload your file. Please do not close the browser window. So we have to be very patient over here. Make sure that it gets finished. Now it has been uploaded, but has the file being processed? The way we confirm that is by clicking on the see all, and over here in the status, it shows in progress. It is very, very important that you wait till this becomes available and is done, because this is what's going to determine, hey, can the knowledge, specifically the generative AI, go ahead and get information from this knowledge? So patiently wait till the status is completed. So right now it's in progress, so we just have to wait. And that can vary. Sometimes it's pretty fast, or depending on your file size, it can take a minute. So I'll just go and click on this refresh over here just to keep an eye on that. All right, so now the status is set to a green check, which is ready. Now I fast forwarded a little bit, but you can see that this entire processing took 6 minutes. And that Excel spreadsheet is not too big, only had about 97 some rows over there, but it's processing each and every cell. So you just have to let it finish and wait till it's ready. Now, we can go ahead and test this agent right now, but I just want to make one little change. I go back to my overview, and right over here in the knowledge area over here, the section which says allow the AI to use its own generative knowledge, I'm actually going to go ahead and disable that. And I'm going to click on continue, let it finish loading, because I only want to use my existing knowledge. All right, so now that we made this change and we've also confirmed that the knowledge piece is active, I'll just go and test this agent right now. I'm actually going to go and put this question. It says, are there any coffee machines that are less than $300? I'll click on enter. It is now taking us directly to this activity place over there. It is processing on our knowledge sources. And over here, we even got an output. And see, the output comes in from the agent on the right side. It says, here are 2 coffee machines that are priced under $300. Gives us the name of the coffee machine and the price. And it's putting in these sections over here because that one is coming in directly from our spreadsheet. That way we know that this agent is not hallucinating. It has 100% gotten this information from our knowledge. Very, very important. So the test went successfully over here. This is great. But now we got to move on. We have to build on top of it. So the first thing that we want to do is now actually start looking at the autonomous piece. And before I do that, I want to show you my Microsoft form. So I'm in my Microsoft Forms, and this one right here, Coffee Machine Inquiry Form, that's the form that we're going to allow our end users to use. And the beauty is in the simplicity of this form, because it has only 3 questions: your name, your email address, and the question. And that's what I mean by the beauty, because people are going to ask any questions over here, and our generative AI is going to process that using our knowledge and give a response back. That's exciting stuff, but I just wanted to show you that, all right? So here is our Microsoft form, and I'll keep it open over here. Maybe close that tab off. Let's go back into our agent building. Let's go back into our overview, all right? And now in the triggers, this is where we go ahead and now call that Microsoft form. Now it says triggers, but in the back end, it is actually a Power Automate Cloud Flow with a little bit of magic to it. And I'll show you what that magic is in just a second. So here you go. I'm going to go and now click on Add Trigger. It comes directly over here. And on the top right, there is already the option we want. It's just when a new response is submitted. So I'll go and select that. And it is actually going now adding that trigger. And you're probably familiar with this part because this is already beginning to look like the Power Automate Cloud Flow process. What I'm going to do is this trigger name, though, I'm going to actually change it. By default, it says when a new response is submitted, but I'm going to change it to when a form about coffee machines is submitted, because you want to be very precise so that our agent will actually understand that from our instructions. All my connections are good. They're green checks. We're good. Now I'll go and click on next. After that, we have to go ahead and give it where the trigger is coming from. So here you go. I'm going to now click on that one over here. And in my search, I'm going to go and search for the coffee machine one. There you go. That's the form that I just showed you. This one right over here. And right now, the additional instruction to the agent when it's invoked, this is what it does out of the box. It says use content from body. We are going to change this in just a few minutes, but at this point, leave it as is. All you want to do now is go and click on this button called Create Trigger. And what the Create Trigger really means is it's actually going ahead and creating now a flow, a Power Automate Cloud Flow in this environment. So let it go and finish creating the flow. We'll go and take a look at the Cloud Flow in just a minute. There, it is done. It is actually saying adding your trigger. This might take a few seconds, which means it's actually going and now keeping that flow ready. And voila, it says time to test your trigger. Your trigger will be successfully added. Now test to make sure it's properly working. We'll do that in a few minutes. What I'm going to do is click on close and actually take a look at what this is. So here's our new trigger. It kept the name. It's even got the icon on Microsoft Forms. But on the right, even past this experimental section over here, if you click on the ellipsis, right there it says edit in Power Automate. So triggers basically is a Power Automate Cloud Flow that is running in the backend. And if you did not know this, well, now you know. That's what the autonomous is in the backend. It's basically a Power Automate Cloud Flow with a little bit of magic from Gen AI, but that's what it is. Triggers / the autonomous piece is the Power Automate Cloud Flow in the backend. So I'll click on this Edit in Power Automate Flow. It opens up a tab, directly takes us into the edit piece over here. And on the top, we just confirm that that is in our environment. So this is basically what it does is right now, it just has 2 different actions. One is basically a trigger. If I click on it, that's the form that I just showed you. And then after that, this is it. This is the action. That's where the magic of generative AI happens over here. Now, as I did some testing, this wasn't sufficient, so I had to do some tweaking. However, let me show you what this does right now as is, all right? Because at least we can verify that, hey, is the connection from the form working well, and is it triggering our trigger? So at least let's test that piece. We'll come back and tweak it in just a minute. So I'm going to click on this back over here so we can at least keep an eye over here. I'll come back to my Microsoft form. I'll click on preview. In my preview, I'll go ahead and give it a name. I'll just say Dan Christian for now. I'll give it an email address, an external email address so that I'm not even using my own tenant one. And in the question, let me put that exact same question that I asked when we were testing the initial agent, which is, are there any coffee machines that are less than $300? I'll go and click on submit, all right? Submit is done, the form is completed. Let's switch over directly to our new flow that was also created. Click on refresh over here. The trigger should go through successfully and the flow is also completed successfully. Now let me go and take a look at it over here, all right? So once we are in, we obviously know that the flow has triggered properly, but what I'm interested to see is what is the data that is actually sent to the agent. So we've got 2 green checks, which is great, but I want to see over here, all right? So right now it is basically saying this is the host, all of that little information, blah, blah, blah. But when I go and see the parameters and I go and see all of this body, that's it. This is conversation ID and it gives me a conversation ID. So maybe in the back end, using some technology in the back end, the information from the Cloudflow is actually going into the Copilot Studio agent. Well, the best way we can confirm that is, first of all, go back into our Copilot Studio right over here in the trigger section, right in this thing where we have the test triggers. Let's click on that. I'm going to go and do a start testing. All right, so I'll click on the start testing because now it's going to test our new trigger. Once the trigger, it takes us directly into this activity piece over here. See on the bottom right, it assumes that a trigger is sent, which is correct, but it did not find anything. All right, so it says, I'm sorry, I'm not sure how to help with that. Can you try rephrasing? And if I expand this over here, you see this is the information that it gets, something called as a webhook ID and all that. It's actually not getting the information that we filled from the form. And this is why I had to update that Power Automate Cloudflow to make sure that the information is sent across. So right over here, right below the initial trigger, I'm going to go and now create a variable. So I'll go and click a search and I'm going to say variable. And the first thing we're going to do is initialize one. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this initialize. So that goes and gets added over here. But our initialized variable is going to be the var body. And I'm going to call that as a var bod. And this is going to be simply of a type string. So I got that one. All right, next is we're going to go and get a response for the form. All right, so I'm going to go and do that first, because when I've built Power Automate flows for the Microsoft Forms, the form, when a new response is submitted right over here, when the new response is submitted, that's what triggers it. But the next following step I've always had to add is get the response. So I'm going to go and do that over here as well. I'm going to go and say add an action, and I'm going to just in the search say get response. So now I go and grab that one over here and that shows up. Well, you know what to do over here. In our form, we actually need to go ahead and get the form, which is right here. Coffee machine inquiry form. That's the one. I'll go and click on this. Now some change is going to happen, so watch what happens, right? I'm going to click on the FX piece over here in our Dynamics form, in our Dynamics content. I come down and I'm going to go and select the first one, which is list of response notification response ID. And I'll select that, and the moment it happens, it puts that into a for each loop, all right? There's no change I can make because I can't just drag this outside. It won't work. You've got to keep it inside the for each. But now we can work with it. So inside the for each, now we set value to our variable. So I'm going to go and add an action inside the for each. I'm going to go and get the variable right there. And in my variable section, I'm going to say set variable. Adds it over here, and I'm going to go and say which is the variable. Well, you only have one, so it's easy. But I'm going to also make sure I go and say set the var body area variable. That way we've got that one, and this variable is going to be what? Well, that variable is going to be all the 3 fields that we got from the Microsoft form, and this is how you do it on the content on the dynamic content. Let me scroll down just a little bit. What do we need? Well, we went and put in our name. So I'm going to select name, click on add. After that, I'll put in a comma, space. Let's go back again. Go and click on the Power FX, go to dynamic content. Then the next one was your email. Click on that, click on add a comma, space, and let's add the last one, all right? So I'm going to click on tiny content, scroll down, and then finally the question. So I go and add that and click on add. all of this is now coming inside our variable, all right? And this is also a good time for you to go and click save so we don't miss anything. Saving is done. Now, right over here, send a prompt to the specified Copilot for processing. When I go and click on that, this is what we already have. It says use content from body. This is done automatically. What we're going to do is change it. I'm going to replace this body and I'm going to go ahead and add our variable right there. Var body, go and click on add, and that is it. But let's go and do a test. So I'll come back to my Microsoft form over here. Just make sure that everything is good on the side. Yep, click on the preview. I'll go and put in my name again here, Daniel Christian. Put in an external email address just to try to replicate as close as possible to the real scenario. Put the same question in for simplicity. Click on submit. And let's go back into our Power Automate flow. 4 seconds, pretty sure this is the one we just submitted. And then now, right over here, see initialize, okay, that's variable is good. Get the response detail. Now we're actually getting in some information right over here. But here's the one. Right now in the parameters, that's what we are sending. So we're actually putting in the email address, question, and the from. But let's go to the agent side and take a look at the activity to see if it's making sense now. So I come back over here to the activity, and there you go. This is the one that just ran. But in the summary section, if I hover over it right here, if I just hover over it, go back on the side and go back over here, and if I hover over it, you see that it says the customer is inquiring about coffee machines that are priced under $300. So you see it's making sense now. Now the Copilot in the autonomous side, which is basically our trigger, is getting the correct information from the Microsoft form. And once you get that information, the agent using generative AI can process that. So what I want to do is also now make sure that once the information is processed, how do we return that back to the person who's requesting, basically the person who's filling the form. So for that, we go ahead and now create an action. The action is basically that send email. So we come back over here now to our actions piece, click on add an action, and over here on the top, I'm going to search for the Office 365 Outlook, because we should see all our Outlooks, and therefore I'm seeing it, but the one that I want is specifically this one, send an email version 2. Click on it, and it is going to go ahead and make sure that all our connections are good. I'm pretty sure my connector is set up well over here. Yep, got a green check, so we are good. And now I'm going to go and click on next. So this is a place where usually we don't have to make any change, but because we are here, we'll take a look at it. So in the inputs now, there are 3 sections, the to, the subject, and the body. And if you ever want to tweak anything, you can always select the edit inputs and just make sure everything is good. So by default, here's what we have. To, well, the to is going to be dynamically filled with the best option. In our case, the to is going to come from the Microsoft Forms, and we just confirmed that the to is coming in, the person's name, Dan Christian, member, and then even the email address and everything. So I think we're good in this side. I'm not going to make any change whatsoever, but if you have to, this is where you come and make that change. All right. So I'm just going to say, yep, don't leave actually. I'm going to click on don't leave. I'm going to go back, click on back. Same thing for subject, body, outputs piece. This is going to be our response, but we'll have the generative AI click create this. So I'm not going to make any changes. I'm just going to go and click on finish, and the finish side, we'll leave things as is right over here. Make sure that this box is also checked. By default it is, but for some reason, just double check. It says, allow agent to use this action. It says, this action can be used by the agent to respond to a user if generative orchestration is enabled, which you and I just did. So we're good. I'll click on finish and make sure that this is all completely done. Now it's important that I left everything as is, and I'll tell you that why in a minute. See right over here that Office 365 Outlook, send an email version 2, I am leaving that name as is. Why? Because right in our overview in the knowledge section, I have put this in the respond with email. I've put that under asterisk. Like, send an email using the Office 365 Outlook dash send an email version 2. So you kind of understand how and why I have done it the way I've done it is because you've gone ahead and built that flow and all the names and the actions the way it is. In fact, if I scroll down now, you will see it right there. So it's kind of important that you follow along. And if you make changes, that's fine. Just follow along the same process. So if, for example, you change that action name to something, Well, in your instructions, reference that action name and how you've gone ahead and named it. Very, very important that you go and do all of this, all right? Important. But now we are done with building the agent. What we have to do is verify, does this all work? So let's do this entire test, all right? So the first thing for the trigger, for the autonomous piece to actually trigger, is let's come ahead and actually fill out the form over here, right? So I'm going to go and say, and over here, right? And just to mess things around, I'm going to actually go and say something like my name, Henry Jackson. Email address, well, I can't change that a whole lot. I have to put in the correct one, so I'll leave that over here. For now, for the sake of the test, I'm going to go and put in that same question, all right? So at least we know that there are some answers here. So I'm going to go and click on Submit. This is done. Let's come over here to our Power Automate flow. Make sure that it is triggered. 5 seconds, all right? It is triggered. Now I come into my activity place over here. I should see, all right, I see something which is in progress. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come over here to my email, please, right here. This is the external email, please. I should be getting an email any second. Oh, I think I got something over here, right there. If I go and click on that, let's see what happens. Right there, you see? A question actually came and it says, hi, Daniel Christian. Now, the Daniel Christian was because it was sent from my email account. But if I open this, I would say, hey, dear Henry Jackson, that's the name that we put in the Microsoft Forms. So the generative AI is doing such a great job leveraging all the information that we are sending in from Power Automate 4. But wait, there's more. In addition, in the subject, it says, thank you for reaching out with your inquiry about coffee machines under $300. That's what we just asked. This is, we found a couple of options that might interest you. Goes ahead and gives the coffee name, the amount. Another coffee name, the amount. This is, both of these machines offer great value for their price and are well suited for different needs. If you have any further questions or needs, blah, 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 okay, you get all of that. Now, what happened is this makes sure that it also matched the polite tone that we asked. So you can have a little bit of fun over here. You can go and even do a pirate one or something snarky, whatever, but it does match what you asked for. So let's do one more test, all right? I just want to kind of see how things are moving around. So I'll come back over here. Let's go back into that original form, please, that we have right on this side. I'm going to submit another form, and this time I'm going to say Justin Landslide, all right? Just some name. Gotta give it that same email address because I can't change that one here, but I will change the question. Now I'm going to say, are there any Barista Lite machines? Barista Lite is actually a type of the machine, all right? So click on Submit. Come back to our Power Automate flow, all right? I'll go and do a refresh over here. This one, 5 seconds. So that's got to be the one that we just had. Come back over here. Go ahead and do another refresh. Right there, okay, refresh. So there's a new one which is currently in progress right there. So if everything works out well, I come back in and voila, it's already there. It says Daniel Christian, but hey, dear Justin Landslide. Go and click on that and it says, dear Justin Landslide, thank you for reaching out with your inquiry about the Barista Lite coffee machines. We are pleased to inform you that the Barista Lite at home expression machine is available with silver and black colors, blah, 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 blah. I mean, do you see the awesomeness over here? And if you don't, let's go and take a look at that Power Automate flow, right? This is where it should blow your mind. See, this Power Automate flow is the most simplest one ever. Took the response from the form and we got the details from the form. Yeah, sure, we went and put in the variable just to make sure that all the data is going through, which is basically the name, email address, and the question. But right over here, this is where all the magic happens. This one action takes the information, sends it to your Copilot agent. The generative AI, which is basically doing the orchestration work, the generative AI is actually going ahead and processing all of that, and then finally leverages this action, which is basically Office 365 Outlook send an email action, to send not just the correct answer, but in a polite tone. None of that was done by us. Automatically, the generative AI using the orchestration piece does that. This is what really fascinates me. But you know what? Just for grins and giggles, right? Again, for grins and giggles, let's do one last test to see if this will even break it. All right, so I'm going to come back over here to my Microsoft form. I'm going to click on Submit Another Response. Over here, I'll put in Michael Raspberry. All right, just to make sure that it's picking up the name, email address. Again, I gotta keep the right one over here. I can't change that. But for the question, I'm going to say, enlighten me, exclamation mark, right? Let's see how the generative AI will orchestrate all of this. So I'm going to go and click on submit, right? Again, it is a Power Automate flow. That is what's triggering the whole anonymous thing. Oh, there you go, 3 seconds ago, so that's good. Come back over here, go to our activity. In our activity section, I'm already seeing a whole bunch of them running. So I'm pretty sure one of these is ours right here. In fact, yeah, that's the one over here, right there. That's the one which is ours. But the ultimate thing is going back and taking a look. So I go back into our main inbox right here. We're waiting. Right there, it came in. It says Daniel Christian, and there you go, Michael Raspberry. So we know that's the updated one. Right here, it says, thank you for reaching out with your inquiry about coffee machines. It says, unfortunately, we currently do not have any information available about coffee machines that matches your requirements. So good. It went ahead and at least gave us a response back based on what the inquiry we had. And you know why? Because here's it is. When we go back into our actual agent, go into the overview, see in the last instruction, which is respond with email, one of the last points, item number 3, was provide response to no information. If no information is available, then send an email using the Office 365 Outlook, send an email version 2 action stating no device can be found that matches the requirement. However, they can contact us for additional information. You see, this knowledge that we provided in a step-by-step descriptive way really came in handy, because this is the whole concept of the orchestration using the generative AI. I don't know about you, but this gets me very excited because now it opens up so many more possibilities. So the big takeaway for you after watching this video is, where all can you leverage this autonomous agent? For example, take a look at your incoming emails, take the subject of the email, the body of the email, and send it to your orchestration. It will go ahead and use the generative AI to go ahead and scan against any of the existing knowledge that you may have and automatically send an email back. You literally have to do nothing else. No complex workflows, nothing. It automatically takes care of that. So hopefully this video got you excited. Hopefully your wheels are turning. Start playing, start testing with this. This is not quite production ready yet, but any plans that you might already have to build where you are thinking of building complex cloud flows, well, think about this first. Use the generative AI, use your Copilot Studio from this side, and plan on using the autonomous agents. Hopefully this video gets you excited, and as always, keep using Copilot Studio. Hello, hello, hello. So if you like this video, go ahead and click on that subscribe button and smash that like button. Also, if you have a few extra seconds, can you go ahead and put in a comment? Either say something nice or give me ideas for my next video. And until then, see ya.